Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're tackling um, something really crucial and honestly a pretty difficult topic.
It is. It's a heavy one.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into recognizing the red flags of manipulation and control in relationships. And our goal here is to give you the psychological blueprint, really, of what causes that feeling of emotional drain and, constant self-doubt.
And we've pulled from a whole range of sources, clinical psychologists, therapists, to really get to the heart of it.
Right. We want to explain why these tactics work and, more importantly, how you can start to neutralize them.
And that why is so important because these behaviors, they almost never start out as obviously abusive. They're subtle.
They're subtle.
They're often wrapped up in what feels like intense affection, which makes it incredibly difficult to see that you're actually being sort of caged in. So we'll break down the signs and then really focus on the actionable steps.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning with the hook, because this almost always starts with something that feels amazing. The first big sign is that perfect beginning.
Love bombing.
Exactly, love bombing, where the partner just seems almost too good to be true.
And it's labeled a form of emotional abuse for a very specific reason. It's a tactic. It's designed to speed up the attachment process and get you to let your guard down completely.
So it's like a flood of affection and gifts and constant texts.
All of it. Constant communication, declarations that you're soulmates after, a few weeks. They're building this intense positive history in a very short amount of time.
And that history is what they use later.
That's the anchor. It makes it so much harder to leave when the negative behavior starts because you're always thinking back to that perfect person you met at the beginning.
It's like emotional whiplash then. Why is it so effective?
Well, it's a textbook psychological principle, intermittent reinforcement. They give you that incredible high at the start, that perfect relationship feeling, and then they pull it away.
So you're not focused on the bad stuff happening now.
You're focused on getting back to that initial feeling. You spend all your energy trying to win back the reward they gave you at the start. That's what creates the trauma bond.
And our sources mention that it's a cycle, right? The love bombing can come back.
Oh, absolutely. The second they feel you pulling away or getting ready to leave, suddenly the gifts and compliments and I love yous come rushing back, just long enough to pull you back in.
Chasing the ghost of that perfect partner. It makes sense then that to maintain that illusion, they have to start controlling the narrative almost immediately.
Exactly right. Which brings us to the next stage, the erosion of your reality.
This is where the lying comes in.
Lying, making excuses, and this is the key, never ever taking responsibility for anything. In their world, nothing is ever their fault. They'll distort facts or just flat out lie to control the version of events you hold in your head.
And that's the on-ramp to gaslighting,
Mm-hmm.
which our sources define as, actively questioning your memory or denying something happened, specifically to make you doubt your own sanity.
And it can be so subtle. One of the experts we looked at, clinical psychologist Lena Dickens, she points out another form of it is just invalidating your feelings.
What does that look like?
So let's say you tell them you're anxious about something they did. Instead of addressing it, they say you're crazy or too sensitive or just overreacting.
So they're not even arguing the facts. They're arguing your right to have a feeling about the facts.
Precisely. And if you can't trust your own feelings, whose reality are you going to rely on? Theirs.
Dr. Dickens says the only defense against that is a sense of confidence and a sense of self-assuredness. But I wonder, is there a risk that if you argue with a gaslighter, you're just playing their game?
You are. The moment you start debating the facts, you've already accepted their premise that your reality is up for debate. The key is to state your reality and then just refuse to engage. Set the boundary right there.
Okay, so moving from that kind of subtle confusion to more active aggression, let's talk about anger. Lashing out over really small, trivial things.
I love the examples in the source material for this.
Me too. Getting furious over the direction you vacuumed the floor or how the dishwasher was loaded.
It sounds absurd, but it's a power play. It's redirection. When they explode over something small, the entire focus shifts to calming them down. You start appeasing them.
And if they know you're someone who avoids conflict.
It's a very fast way to gain control. You start walking on eggshells just to keep the peace.
And right alongside that, anger is ridicule. Constant criticism.
Making you feel like you can't do anything right. They might put you down in front of your friends, maybe bring up an embarrassing story you told them in confidence.
Or insult things you really believe in, your core values.
It's all designed to create self-doubt. And over time, that leads to what psychologists call learned helplessness. If you're told enough times you're incompetent, you just stop trying to make your own decisions. You become reliant on them.
And where does that come from in them?
Usually deep insecurity. They're trying to feel bigger by making you feel smaller.
So once they've eroded your internal confidence, the next step is to cut you off externally. Isolation.
This is one of the biggest, most dangerous red flags. They actively start pulling you away from your friends, from your family.
And there are two big reasons for this, right?
Two critical goals. First, narrative control. If you're isolated, their version of reality is the only one you hear. There's no one on the outside to say, hey, that's not normal, or he shouldn't talk to you like that.
And the second reason.
It usually ties back to jealousy and an insecure attachment style. They're paranoid that you'll leave them or cheat on them, so they try to eliminate any perceived threats.
Even if that threat is just your sister.
Or your best friend.
Yeah.
A dating coach we referenced, John Keegan, he was adamant about this. He said, a healthy social life, separate from your partner, is absolutely essential. If your partner fights you on that, it's a huge warning sign.
This need for control then seeps into affection itself. Conditional love.
Yeah, this is a big one. The idea that love is transactional, they'll imply they would love you more
If you lost weight.
if you dressed differently, if you stopped wearing makeup. They find your insecurity and they weaponize it. A psychotherapist, Kelly Miller, she said if you're constantly questioning your relationship stability, it's because the foundation is unhealthy.
That doubt often comes from them trying to control your daily choices, like what you wear or what you eat.
Right, using guilt. The implication is, if you really loved me, you would want to please me by looking the way I want you to look.
Total ownership of your identity.
There are exceptions, of course. An LMFT, Leah Hun, pointed out that, if there's a dress code for an event, that's one thing, but outside of those specific functional reasons, it's just about control.
And then there's the withdrawal of affection. The silent treatment.
Peak emotional manipulation. It's so devastating because it shuts down any possibility of resolution.
There's no compromise.
None. They are actively withdrawing connection, and it conditions you to believe that the only way to get it back is to give in, to abandon your boundary and give them what they want. They hold all the power.
And we have to mention in this section, uncomfortable sexual interactions.
Right.
The pressure to do things you don't want to.
Using that exact same guilt structure. If you loved me, you would do this. It's a profound violation of autonomy and respect.
So as all these tactics pile up, the environment just becomes suffocating, fueled by their paranoia.
And that leads to excessive jealousy, constantly checking your phone, looking over your shoulder, giving you the third degree every time you come home from the grocery store.
Which, again, you're saying goes back to their own fear.
It's their fear of abandonment being projected onto you as controlling behavior.
And when you combine that paranoia with the constant criticism we talked about, that's how they make you feel trapped.
Absolutely. They've spent months, maybe years, convincing you that you're difficult or a failure and that no one else would ever want you.
That they're the only option you have.
It's the end goal of learned helplessness. And the countermeasure here is so important. You have to actively re-anchor yourself. Remind yourself of everything you accomplished, everyone you loved, before they came along.
Your friends and family are key there.
They are your reality check. And that brings us to the most serious sign of all. Threats.
Threats against you, against themselves.
Threats of suicide or self-harm, threats against people you love, your pets, even destroying your property, like smashing a favorite coffee mug.
And there's a crucial warning here. These have to be taken seriously. Always.
Always. If they threaten suicide, you call a suicide hotline immediately. The relationship issues don't matter in that moment. Safety does. And if the threats are violent against you or anyone else, you call law enforcement. Period.
Okay, so let's shift gears. If someone listening is recognizing these patterns, what are the practical, actionable steps they can take? How do you start to push back?
The first attempt, if you feel safe enough to do so, is communication. But it has to be done carefully.
In private, when you're both calm?
Exactly. No distractions. You're trying to set the stage for collaboration, not a fight.
And the way you say things matters. Instead of, you always belittle me, you use I statements.
Yes. I feel belittled when you bring up that story in front of our friends. It's about owning your feeling. It makes it harder for them to get defensive and deny it.
And Kelly Miller, the psychotherapist, she also stressed active listening.
Which is so much more than just waiting for your turn to talk. It's reflective listening. You actually repeat back what you heard them say, like, so what I'm hearing is you feel frustrated when it shows you're genuinely trying to understand.
This connects to a really interesting point from another psychologist, Alison Brenneman. She said some partners aren't consciously being manipulative.
Right. They might be unconsciously replaying unhealthy family dynamics they learned as a kid. To them, this is just how you handle conflict. They might not even realize it's destructive.
But whether it's conscious or not, the next step is the same. You have to set boundaries.
Non-negotiable boundaries are just about mutual respect, and you have to define them clearly. I am not okay with you raising your voice at me.
But a boundary is useless without a consequence, isn't it?
Completely useless. And this is the hardest part. You have to establish a proportionate consequence that you are 100% willing to follow through on.
So the boundary is don't yell, and they yell.
The consequence might be, I'm going to take a 30-minute walk. If they pressure you sexually, I'm sleeping in the other room tonight.
And the key is not to set a consequence you won't enforce. Don't say I'll leave you unless you're packed and ready to go.
Because if you don't follow through, you've just taught them that your boundaries are meaningless threats.
If that all feels like too much to handle alone, couples counseling is the next logical step.
It can help you either heal the relationship or, if that's not possible, separate with some clarity and respect.
And finally, and maybe most importantly, get external help for yourself.
Yes. If you've been isolated, the very first step is to call a friend. Call your parents. Tell someone what's been happening. Reconnect with your support system.
They can re-anchor you.
They absolutely can. And talk to a therapist on your own. You need a space to untangle all the confusion and start rebuilding your self-trust. Journaling, meditation, positive affirmations, these aren't luxuries. They're essential tools for recovery.
And we have to say it again. Your safety comes first. If their behavior is escalating, you need an escape plan. Know where you would go. Look up local domestic violence shelters. Having a plan is power.
So to just boil it all down, first you recognize the pattern. Then you attempt clear communication with firm boundaries. And throughout it all, you prioritize your own support system and your safety.
That brings us to the end of this deep dive. Our mission was really just to arm you with the knowledge to assess your own relational health, to see these patterns clearly. So here's a final thought for you to take away. If manipulation works by making you doubt yourself and seek validation from your controller, what is one single habit you can build, starting today, that strengthens your own psychological independence?
Build your internal firewall. And never, ever let another person hold the only key to your self-worth.
We encourage you to keep exploring these topics of self-assuredness and what healthy relationships really look like. Until next time, stay well informed.